Hello, ni hao, bonjour, konnichiwa, hola, habari, mulishani, and wagwan. Welcome to Beyond Borders podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host, Dr. Charity Campbell-Capella, known in the travel space as Doctora the Explorer, but mostly known as Dr. CK. Here at Beyond Borders, I share transformative travel experiences and cultural insights and help you see that cultural intelligence touches every part of our lives. Today, we're diving into a topic that is close to my heart: how traveling abroad cultivated my cultural intelligence in ways that my former education never could. As of this recording, I've been blessed to explore over 30 countries, with 28 of those adventures happening after I earned my doctorate in global leadership. So I can't wait to share my insights with you. And now I know many of you listening are like me, ambitious professionals who value education and personal growth. Maybe you're a professor juggling research and teaching, or you're a consultant balancing client work with your own development. Or maybe you're an executive looking to expand beyond your current global perspective. Whoever you are, if you're passionate about meaningful travel experiences and lifelong learning, then you're in the right place. In this episode, we'll explore how my travels taught me lessons that no textbook or lecture hall ever could provide for me. And we'll discuss how immersing yourself in different cultures can enhance your leadership skills, broaden your perspectives, and even help you find that elusive work-life balance that we've all been chasing. So whether you're planning your next solo adventure, looking to infuse more cultural intelligence into your work, or simply dreaming of far-off places from your desk, this episode is for you. And if you are ready to discover how traveling abroad can transform not just your passport, but your entire worldview, then grab your favorite travel mug, get comfy, and let's talk about it as we go beyond borders. So one of the most important skills that travel hones is adaptability. And when you're traveling, plans can change in an instant. Whether it's a missed train or a sudden language barrier, learning to adjust and pivot on the fly is essential. And I'm going to be so honest with you right now. I had a lot of challenges with adaptability when I first started traveling. Because here's the thing: when you start traveling, who you are is who you start off on this journey as, okay? So if you have had issues with communication or issues with relationships and connections and association, if you had issues, like in my case, being flexible and adaptable, that is going to show up in your travel experiences. It's going to show up in your work. It's going to show up in your research. I mean, seriously, in my case, it was a control issue. Listen, I am putting it all out here for you today, okay? I am being 100% transparent and authentic with you because that's the way that I have to tell my experiences, right? So I was very inflexible. And it was because of a control issue that I had. I figured if I'm in control of a certain situation, then I control the outcomes. Well, that is something that you have to toss out the window when you begin traveling, because things happen. Life happens. And if you aren't able to pivot, I'm sorry to say, but your experience could actually end up being a devastating one. So being able to adjust and pivot on the fly is extremely essential. And these experiences teach you resilience and the ability to confidently navigate unfamiliar environments and scenarios. So today I'm sharing with you 8 powerful lessons in adaptability that my global adventures have taught me, and insights that can help you cultivate the flexibility to make the most of any situation, both at home and abroad. So let's get into the first one. It is expect the unexpected. When you step out of your comfort zone and immerse yourself in a new culture, the unexpected is bound to happen. Okay. Trust me. Flights get delayed, plans change at the last minute, and things rarely go exactly as you envisioned. Rather than letting these curveballs derail you, learn to roll with the punches. Approach each twist and turn as an opportunity to problem solve, to think on your feet and demonstrate your resilience. Okay. These are all transferable skills anyway. And as a professional, by now, hopefully, you've developed these skills. And the same way we would use them in academia and in our businesses, it's the same way you should use them when you are approaching your travel itinerary, your plans, which brings me to number 2. Get rid of that rigid itinerary. Now, listen, I am a recovering type A planner, okay? And so I used to meticulously map out every millisecond of my trips. But let me tell you something. When I went backpacking, or I guess I call it like flash packing through Europe, I quickly learned that the most rewarding travel experiences often happen spontaneously. And when you're open to that serendipitous encounter that comes with going to different places and meeting random people, it can lead to unplanned adventures. So make sure that you leave room in your schedule for flexibility and don't be afraid to veer off the beaten path. Now, some of my most cherished memories come from happy accidents and unscripted moments. They were not in my millisecond planned out itinerary. They weren't even in my purview. They were actually just really spontaneous. Like waking up one day in France and saying, you know what, I think I want to just hop on a bus, and see if that'll take me all the way to London. And then being in London and saying, you know what, let me check out, I use this app, when I was in Europe that could help you, like, it's kind of like Skyscanner, which I'm in love with Skyscanner. And when you use Skyscanner, like you can choose like to fly from where you are to anywhere. And I did that when I was in London. And I was like, let me just see what's the cheapest, what's the cheapest country to visit. At the time, it was Oslo, Norway. Girl, I wasn't thinking about going to Norway at any point in my journey, but because I decided to ditch my rigid itinerary, I was like, let's just go. And it turned out to be one of the most amazing unplanned adventures that I had ever had. So that's point number 2. Seriously, is get rid of that rigid itinerary. And number 3 is embrace the unfamiliar. Trying new foods, navigating foreign transportation systems, and communicating with people who do not share your language can feel intimidating. But leaning into that discomfort is where the magic really happens. Each time I have stepped outside of my comfort zone, I expanded my capacity for adaptability. And that is the same for you. Be curious, stay positive, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice adapting to the unknown, the more natural it will become. This is one of the principles that I adopted when I was abroad, but especially when I was living in China, because living in China as an expat for 5 years, I had so much unfamiliarity that I had to adjust to. I mean, the language, the food, because let me tell you something. Anybody that tells you that the food in mainland China is the same that we have in America is a lie. It is not the same, okay? It is not the same. And I wish somebody would have warned me that beforehand. But I had to embrace the mainland China cuisine. I had to embrace navigating the bus stops and the DDs and other transportation methods. I mean, it really was a lot. And had I not started the process of embracing what was familiar around me, I honestly don't think that I would have lasted for as long as I did. I probably would have left, after my contract. And let me just say, there are so many people who end their contracts early when they go abroad. If you are if you have like a business contract, and that was one of the things, it was a high turnover rate in China, and I didn't fully understand in the beginning why there were so many people, expats, that would start a contract for the money, get homesick, and then leave. So, so I'm glad that that wasn't my case, because if I hadn't started the process, like I just mentioned, if I hadn't started the process of embracing the unfamiliar, I definitely would not have lasted. Which brings me to number 4, cultivate patience and presence. So, traveling solo requires a healthy dose of patience. Living abroad requires a healthy dose of patience. As I mentioned before, like flights get delayed, lines get long, plans get derailed. But rather than letting frustration take over, and really getting up in arms and just being nasty to people in the airport, practice staying present and going with the flow. Take deep breaths, observe your surroundings, go, chill in a lounge, find some small ways to make the most of each moment. This mindset of patience and presence, it will definitely serve you well, both on the road and in daily life. Being patient with yourself should help you to see the importance of being patient with others. For me, when I started being patient with myself and my development, when I started looking at how impatient I was with others and their development, or others and their personality, or, whatever type of qualms I did not like, I had to think about how I wanted people to be patient with me. Because surely there's some things about myself that they wouldn't like, right? Surely there's some traits that I have, or some quirks about me that somebody wouldn't like. So I thought about how patient I would want someone to be with me. And then I had to flip that thing and say, okay, now if I can be patient with myself, and if I desire someone to be patient with me, then I should be able to cultivate patience for someone else. And that has helped me a lot when it comes to building cross-cultural relationships, because it is not easy to do. It is not easy to do. You're talking about bringing several different worlds together. They're colliding together, and you're wanting to find a common ground so that you can have harmony within these connections, whether it is professionally or personally. So cultivate patience and presence, not just with yourself, but with others. And number 5 is lean on your support system. Even the most independent globetrotters need a little help sometimes. When you find yourself in an unfamiliar situation, don't be afraid to reach out to your support network, whether that's connecting with your family who's back home, or other solo travelers, or tapping into local resources. FaceTime was it for me. And that actually, when I was in Europe, I wasn't a part of the Apple ecosystem at the time. I was a faithful Samsung user. And so we used Duo back then. We were we didn't have FaceTime, but we were video calling. And that actually helped out a lot when I would feel, I don't think I ever got homesick. Hear me out. When I was abroad in all of the countries I visited, I don't think I ever really got homesick, but I did miss some of my people. I missed some of my people, and being able to video call them just to have that connection, and just to have a real conversation. And most times, people will be like, well, tell me about, how is everything? What is it like? And it was a beautiful experience to be able to share, but also to know that I still had support back home. I still had people who cared about me and wanted to hear from me. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't have family, or I don't have friends like that. I'm really like a lone wolf. Then that's perfectly fine. You will find and meet some amazing people along your journey, but it is up to you to make those connections. So lean on your support system. If that loneliness really, kicks in and it's too much to bear, find a support system and lean on it, because that will definitely help you. And the next thing, we're going to go to number 6 now, which is cultivating curiosity and openness. Now, this is talking about your mindset. When you step into a new country, it is so easy to feel overwhelmed by the differences in the customs, the language, and the way of life. But the most successful solo travelers approach these situations with a mindset of curiosity and openness. This is why this podcast is here. I walked around literally singing Dora the Explorer, but in Doctora, right? So I was like, Doctora. I mean, I was there. I was there for the curiosity, and I was there to be open to all of the diversity that was around me. It was actually pretty overwhelming in such a beautiful way. And instead of judging what was unfamiliar, I tried to understand the context and the history behind the cultural norms that I found myself lodged in. So you do the same. Ask questions, observe closely, and resist that urge to immediately compare everything to what you're used to. Because I don't know why we do this, especially, I could say as Americans, or maybe just as women in general. I don't know why we say, oh, yeah, this is like what we have in America, or this is totally different from in America. I have never seen this. Or, well, that's the point. You're not in America. This is not Kansas, Dorothy, right? Like, you are totally out of America or your country. And so instead of comparing everything to what you're used to, ask questions, observe it, embrace it. This is the type of mindset shift that can transform a frustrating experience into a fascinating learning opportunity. And number 7, embrace the discomfort of the unknown. Now, let's be real. Let's be real. And if you're still sipping on your coffee, good girl, because mine is almost gone. But let's be real here. Adapting to a new culture isn't always comfortable. It's actually one of the most uncomfortable things that I've ever had to do. There will be moments of confusion, awkwardness for sure, and even frustration as you navigate unfamiliar territory. But these are the exact moments that cultivate your adaptability. Now, rather than avoiding the discomfort like most people do, lean into it. Lean with it, rock with it, okay? Remind yourself that this is all part of the growth process. The more you practice being uncomfortable, the more resilient you'll become in the face of change. And then, number 8, flexibility is your superpower, baby. Let me tell you, your ability to go with the flow and adapt on the fly is everything. It is everything, because those who thrive are the ones who can quickly pivot and find creative solutions. Instead of clinging to that rigid itinerary, embrace the freedom of flexibility. Leave room for that spontaneity and serendipity to unfold. When things don't go as planned, just reframe it as an opportunity to discover something new. Sorry about that. I feel like I got a little passionate. I felt like my preacher was coming out. I'm sorry. But listen, as a cultural intelligence consultant, I've seen firsthand how the adaptability skills honed through solo travel can unlock new levels of personal and professional growth. So the next time you find yourself facing the unknown, remember to embrace the adventure, expect the unexpected, and trust in your ability to adapt. Remember, cultivating adaptability isn't just about making your travels smoother. It's a valuable and transferable skill that translates directly into your professional life. Now, whether you're navigating a new culture or Maybe it's a new workplace dynamic. That flexibility will set you apart. So, next time you're packing for that conference in Bangkok or that research trip to Los Angeles, pack your adaptability along with your laptop. It might just be the most valuable tool in your suitcase. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite way to stay flexible while traveling? Drop a comment below, and I'd love to hear your stories and your tips. Now, listen, I want to thank you for listening to Beyond Borders podcast. I can't express my gratitude enough because it humbles me to know that you tune in every week to learn from me. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Beyond Borders podcast. Download today's episode, rate, comment, and share so we can ignite a cultural revolution all across the globe. I also invite you to connect with me on YouTube, Pinterest, and my newest adventure, Substack. Let me know what kind of cultural insights and travel experiences you'd like to see more of. Also, if you have any questions or would like to be a guest on the show, please email me at charity@doctoratheexplorer.com and someone will respond in a timely manner. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, remember to keep your mind open and your suitcase ready. See you in the next episode as we go Beyond Borders.